Good evening, attendees. Welcome to the, March Equipped Live, our monthly interview about the IFMC. Today's topic, which you probably saw in the email announcement, is artificial intelligence. So we're going to ask the question, or attempt to answer the question, I suppose. Can artificial intelligence enhance our ability to achieve the IFMC mission and vision? And as usual, we're going to speak with Greg Winter about this. So I will just get him on the live screen and we'll ask some questions. Hi, Greg.
Hello, Jackie. Hello, everyone.
All right, so we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, which there is none on this call right now. It's all real intelligence right now. I'm assuming. So this was a topic that, I mean, it's a very hot topic right now. So you hear it in the news, you hear people starting, to talk about this whatever the chat one is, the different artificial intelligence websites. People are starting to kind of test them, play around with it a little bit, but that's just really the tip of the iceberg. So let's start with, what is the definition of AI or artificial intelligence, and what definition are you really using as we talk about this?
Well, from a really high level, I view that as simply software and hardware devices that mimic human intelligence. But just to give a couple examples of that I think most people are already familiar with and some already using, when you talk into the microphone on your cell phone and it transcribes your voice into written words, into a text message or an email, that's artificial intelligence. And now there are apps out where you can take a picture of the food in your refrigerator or maybe your cupboard, and you can ask it to develop recipes that you can make with that food. And that, again, that's artificial intelligence. So what's really happening there? Essentially, you've got a device with some software, your cell phone. It's sensing either audio or visual inputs. It's gathering data from that. It's processing that data, kind of like a brain would, and then it's converting that into some sort of action. And in the two examples that I just gave, it's converting it to some sort of writing or written instructions. But that's artificial intelligence. But I did ask ChatGPT what their definition was, and I simply gave it the command, define AI. And it responded with, AI stands for artificial intelligence. It is a broad field of computer science that focuses on creating machines or computer systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and natural language understanding. AI systems can learn from data, adapt to new inputs, and improve their performance over time without being explicitly programmed. AI includes various techniques such as machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. So that's what ChatGPT thinks.
Well, I think it sounds pretty accurate. So, I don't think that most people really realize how much artificial intelligence is already being utilized in our lives. I mean, I think about my house, and you've got the Alexa, or you talk to Siri. You've got the vacuum robots that are learning things as they vacuum your house. I use an app to learn a foreign language that I've been working on, and that learns my learning style and adapts to it. So, I mean, there's so many uses for it already. But the way we're going to talk about it today is how we could possibly use it at the IFMC to achieve the mission and vision. So I want to remind listeners of what the mission and vision are first, and then we can go down that path. So I'm just going to read them. The mission: the IFMC's purpose is to provide an atmosphere of opportunity for its members and other loyal stakeholders to enhance their economic well-being and quality of life. And the IFMC vision is members and loyal stakeholders unanimously attribute their unprecedented success to the IFMC environment. So with those two things kind of being reminded for the audience, does AI already exist within the IFMC, which I'm assuming yes, and where and how does it already exist?
Oh, yeah, it definitely exists. And I think where maybe most people are experiencing it daily is in their Microsoft tools. And in particular, if you look at email or Word documents, I think most of us will remember when spell check started coming out, and we were kind of amazed that, wow, this thing can know how to spell a word and correct me if I get that wrong. Well, then autocorrect came along. Then it started suggesting words and then multiple words. And I think Paul Diamond would tell us that it's not going to be long before the Microsoft tools are going to be finishing paragraphs and even finishing entire emails and documents for us. And so that's baked into Microsoft Word, into Excel. There's Power BI that turns data into graphics and dashboards. And so there's a lot of AI already there. And there's probably even more of it kind of behind the scenes, so to speak. And so most people aren't even aware that this is going on, but we're getting literally thousands of pieces of junk email every day. And the system is not only sorting out what's likely junk, but it's adapting, because there's always a battle. I mean, when you come up with artificial intelligence that can sort the junk out, somebody's out there trying to figure out how to fool that artificial intelligence so that it can bypass it. And so, that's just continually being updated, continually keeping literally thousands of pieces of email from distracting us from living the IFMC mission and vision.
So what other opportunities exist in the IFMC to utilize additional artificial intelligence to help achieve our mission and vision?
Well, I think what we're going to most likely see the most of will be the Microsoft tools and the other Office tools that are being developed. And it's not here yet, and I'm kind of stretching and imagining things out into the future now. And so we need to be careful with that. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if artificial intelligence will start enabling or will literally start developing complete responses to emails. So Jackie, I send you an email, and it won't surprise me at all if someday, probably pretty soon, your computer will generate the response to my email based on sensing what's already in your emails, sensing what's already in your other documents, processing that information, kind of understanding how that fits together and who you're responding to, et cetera, and developing a proposed email that now you can read and decide if that's accurate and send it on. Now, most likely it isn't going to be accurate. And so most likely you're going to need to do some modifications and tweak it so that it says what you really want it to say. But in essence, it's developing the draft documents. So it's helping you to be more productive. And I have very little doubt that that's coming down the pike. And I can see that sort of thing happening now with customer emails, customer communications, automatic generation of quotes, automatic processing of job costing and scheduling. And so if we look at the costing and the scheduling piece, every job starts out with a bill of material, and we don't, for the most part, we don't develop a bill of competencies or a list of the types of labor. We kind of just group it as hours of labor. But I can see us in the future having a bill of material, having a bill of competencies, and once we process a few jobs like that, we're going to be building up history. And I don't doubt that artificial intelligence will be able to use that to cost out the job, to schedule the job, actually price the job, schedule it. And if you think about that, the really cool thing is that now we're going to be able to get better insight as to when we're going to need certain competencies at what location in the organization. And so from a leadership management perspective of a manufacturing operation, particularly in custom build small batch, that's going to be a game changer for the leaders and the management folks and the efficiency of the whole operation. So I think it's a real opportunity for us to be more competitive, to stay ahead of the game. And I can even envision, if we look at, in the past, we've talked about the hedgehog concept and how the typical hedgehog concept is a Venn diagram where you've got one circle where you list the passion, your passions. Another one, you list what you're best in the world at. Another one is your economic opportunities. Well, if we tweak that just a little bit and we say, well, let's look at it this way. Let's say we have a modified hedgehog concept where we have what is a person really, truly competent at? So what have they really experienced? What have they really done? That's one circle. Another circle, what do they want to develop? What competencies do they wish they had, or are they working to develop? And the other circle, what are the current needs in the IFMC for those type of competencies? Now, with artificial intelligence, I can see the day where the computer, the machine, can look at that overlap and identify that overlap, and potentially people could have an app on their phone where they're looking for those overlaps and determining whether they want to go to that location, do that work. And again, there's a whole bunch of issues there that would have to be worked out. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's possible, and I believe it's coming down the pike.
Yeah, I would agree that it's close.
I think the other thing that's, I think we should probably understand here too is if we look at the 20th century, so basically from 1800 to or 1900 to 2000, there was about a 50x improvement in productivity in manufacturing. That, and so at the beginning of the century, we were implementing electricity more widely in the US. We start mass producing things, and so the productivity went way up. But now, if we look at what's happening now, really most of this, the artificial intelligence, is really going to be dramatically changing what happens with knowledge workers. And so that's really where I think the majority of that improvement is going to be. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see another 50x improvement. So it's a big deal. It's a game changer.
Do you see much artificial intelligence in the shop or at the shop level coming into play in the near future?
Well, I think so. We've got a small team of folks right now that are working on understanding that labor input. And so if you look at, let's say, metal tech, there we've got CNC machines. Those machines know what part number they're working on at any particular time on the clock. And so that information exists. If we know who is actually standing in front of that machine in the work cell, we know how much time they're spending on those parts. And right now, we in some cases, we're still writing those things, that time, on paper time cards. And somebody's transcribing that from the paper time cards into the computer, and we're putting that in tables and programs so that we can actually pay people, etc. Artificial intelligence will at some point allow us to artificially input all that information and process that information where the outputs can be job costing and so forth. So we're already starting to work on that.
Okay, so not just in the office side or the now, like you said, the knowledge workers, but also at the shop level, they'll likely will see increases in use of artificial intelligence. So just one other question, and then we'll end because we're already over time as usual. We're good at that. What about the people who say, well, artificial intelligence is just stealing jobs from human beings? I guess it's a two-part question. One, what do you say to that person? And also for people who might have either more interest in this area or are fearful they could lose a job due to artificial intelligence, what kind of competencies would you suggest that they look at getting for themselves to grow with this new sort of economy or new development in the economy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jackie. And I guess where I would start is to look at history. And I would probably ask them, is your standard of living better today than it was before electricity? Is your standard of living better today than it was before cars? How about before robots? And the majority of people are going to respond with, yeah, I mean, it is better. But the beauty of the US is the Amish still make choices to not use some of that technology, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But a majority of people are using the technology. They do appreciate the electricity. But the other thing that I think I would want people to consider as well is that anytime there's new technology, some people are going to be benefiting from the new technology. Other people are maybe going to be feeling some discomfort with that. And the folks that are feeling discomfort are going to try to scare people into not using that. And one of the most blatant examples of that is when Edison had developed direct current electricity and Nikola Tesla had developed alternating current. There was a battle going on over whether we were going to electrify the nation with DC or AC current. And Edison actually was demonstrating by killing elephants with AC current to scare people into favoring DC current. And I mean, that was going on in the early 1900s. I think it was 1903 when that was happening. And the bottom line is, did it scare some people? Absolutely. But if you ask most people today, would you prefer to live with or without AC current? they're really happy to have AC current.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our power goes out for a half hour and none of us know what to do. So
Mhm.
we're very used to it. All right. So summarize all of this. We can expect pretty much without a doubt that we'll have increased artificial intelligence kind of implemented into the IFMC in a variety of ways in the near future. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Any final comments on this topic? Any final thoughts?
Well, I think another thing that the dynamic that's important here is whenever you have new innovation, a lot of that new innovation fails, but a small amount of that ends up surviving and thriving and sustaining. And so the way that looks to most people is that innovation seems like it's moving extremely slow, but at some point it reaches a tipping point and then it goes shockingly fast. And so if you look at artificial intelligence, in the mid 70s, I can't remember now what the computer was called, but IBM had a computer that actually beat grandmasters of chess at chess games. Well, that's over 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
More like 50 years ago now, but that was happening back then. I mean, so the artificial intelligence already existed, but it was expensive and we didn't have the same infrastructure that we have today. But we've now reached that tipping point where I think it already is going shockingly fast for a lot of folks. And I think we need to get used to it. And I think you've heard me say this before on the Equipped Live sessions. I think we need to work in sync with the natural forces that exist and work in sync with Mother Nature. And so we can try to fight the trend, but you're not going to win, and you can't sustain that. So I think we need to embrace artificial intelligence, work with it, make the best we can of it.
I absolutely agree, but let's not kill elephants in the process.
I agree.
All right. Well, Greg, we are out of time. Thank you so much again for your time this evening. Everybody who's watching, we appreciate it. Greg, any final words?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for the productivity and making the IFMC a better organization.
All right. We'll see everybody in about a month.